Shalom Chavrim, welcome to lesson 26 of Learn Biblical Hebrew. This is the second in a series of three lessons that look at different verses out of Ecclesiastes, the book of Ecclesiastes. Today we're going to look at Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 9, very familiar words. There it is, Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 9. B, I've written B, indicating it's not the whole verse, but the second part of it. En kol chadash tachath hashemesh. So here we have the letter by letter translation, and then the word by word. So ein is not, kol means all, normally means all, as a first approximation it means all, but in this case, going with the not, we're going to translate it by any. Not any, chadash, new, tachat, under, hashemesh, the sun. So we're going to have to translate with the there is not anything, or there is nothing. Not anything or nothing new under the sun. Again, a well-known expression that comes from Ecclesiastes, and a poetic expression of Solomon's disgust and utter disillusionment with his policy of trying to find satisfaction in the things that he could find on earth. And he's got this phrase, under the sun, which he uses several times. And here he introduces it, nothing new under the sun. It's interesting, more phrases have come into English from the Bible than any other source, including Shakespeare. Shakespeare introduced more words, but the Bible introduced more phrases. And the King James Bible is by far the most influential source of biblical expressions. According to David Crystal, who in his book Begat looks at 257 expressions, Ecclesiastes is a source of surprisingly many of these. When we rank Bible books in order, according to how many well-known expressions they've produced, we get this list: Matthew, Exodus, Genesis, Luke, John, and then Ecclesiastes. So Ecclesiastes beats, for example, Psalms, Proverbs, and all the writings of Paul. Crystal gives these expressions from Ecclesiastes. I'll show you the list. So here they are: vanity of vanities, Ecclesiastes 1 verse 2, nothing new under the sun, chapter 1 verse 9, to everything there is a season, a time to laugh, a time to cry, chapter 3 verse 1, two are better than one, chapter 4 verse 9, let thy words be few, chapter 5 verse 2, you can't take it with you, chapter 5 verse 15, the race is not to the swift, chapter 9 verse 11, a fly in the ointment. That too comes from Ecclesiastes, chapter 10, verse 1. Cast thy bread upon the waters, chapter 11, verse 1. Much study is a weariness of the flesh, chapter 12, verse 12. Of making many books, there is no end. Again, chapter 12, verse 12. So these are all very well-known expressions taken from the book of Ecclesiastes, and often I think people are surprised to know that these expressions came from the Bible, and surprised again to learn that they come from a relatively obscure book, you might have thought, Ecclesiastes. So here we have it, our particular verse for this lesson, En kol chadash tachat hashemesh. Just a word about this vowel. This is normally a, so we'd say En kal chadash. But in some ways of pronouncing Hebrew, when it's between two consonants like this, it becomes O. So there are different ways, but that was the way that I was taught it, so that's why I sometimes say Ein Kol Hadash. There is not any new thing under the sun. So we could perhaps say there is nothing new to be found. Well, there's nothing new to be found anywhere. Or simply just there's nothing new to be found. Solomon is thoroughly wearied and disillusioned with trying to get satisfaction from the things his wealth and power could get him.